I'm Max Darrow, and this is The Minute. Steph Curry led the Golden State Warriors to a 104-93 victory over the Houston Rockets, while Jimmy Butler cheered from the bench. He was sidelined with an injury. The Warriors now have a 2-1 lead in their playoff series. Game 4 is tomorrow night at Chase Center. Tip-off, 7 o'clock. San Francisco wraps up Climate Week today. Events include the Our Hidden Powers exhibition at the REAP Climate Center in Alameda and the final day of the Art and Change exhibition at the Drawing Room Annex in San Francisco. Today is also the 102nd opening day on the Bay Parade. Hundreds of classic boats will be on display from Crissy Field to east of the Marina Green. This year's theme is Generations of the Bay, celebrating San Francisco's colorful past. I'm Max Darrow with The Minute.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
In the midst of a massive budget crisis, San Francisco's transit agency is making sure their riders pay their fair share.
You can't just jump on and then see us then add fare to your card and pay, okay?
We ride along to see how a new strategy is working for fare evasion on Muni. Plus, from free meals to grief support. People in the North Bay turning to their neighbors after a horrific crash that killed 4 high schoolers.
Here's a new message here. I am gifting trauma therapy. How can I help?
We'll introduce you to the local restaurant owner who is coordinating it all from his pizza shop. And how a mom fighting to protect her son inspired Bay Area police to try a new approach to responding to mental health emergencies. Thanks for joining us. Let's start with First Alert Weather. Here's meteorologist Zoe Mintz.
Happy Sunday. Not necessarily as much of a Sunday fun day if you plan on spending any time outdoors, because we're definitely looking at a cooler and cloudier afternoon ahead of us. Our high temperatures are only going to be in the upper 50s to maybe low 60s across the Bay Area. So bundle up and keep the jacket handy today. You're definitely going to need it. But the cloud coverage, it's not going to stick around much longer than the afternoon hours. And in fact, although a bit of clouds and fog will stick around in the early morning hours tomorrow, quickly clearing by tomorrow afternoon. We're going to be seeing plenty of sunshine, and that's going to allow our high temperatures to warm back up to seasonable for this time of year. We'll be back in the low 70s across our inlandmost locations, mid to upper 60s down into the Santa Clara Valley. We'll still be sitting in the upper 50s closer to our coastal communities, as that marine layer is going to be holding on tight closer to the coast, while the inland areas are going to be seeing quite a lot more sunshine. But everybody will be warming up after today as that storm system departs. And again, the clouds begin to clear. Like I said, maybe a little bit of fog waking up early tomorrow morning, but so much sunshine tomorrow afternoon. The rain that we saw today, yesterday, Friday, was very necessary across most of the Bay Area. Basically, all of us have been well below average throughout the entire month of April. San Francisco, about an inch below average. And for the entire rainy season as a whole, it started October 1st. We're about 2 inches below average. It's because April, it's been a very, very dry month. March was also a very dry month. Although February was really awesome when it came to our rainfall, it did not outweigh the dry air that we saw in January as well, and to kick off the rainy season. So there's been 3 months that have been above average and 4 months that have been below average since the rainy season began. Means the below average conditions are winning out. But there is some good news if you enjoy the rain like I do, and like we do need this time of year. There is a slight potential for a little bit more activity late Friday and into early Saturday, as again, this is the time of year that our rainfall totals really begin to drop off. From March, you see over 3 inches of rain on average, to April, about 1.5 inches. By May, we are less than 1 inch of regular monthly rainfall. That is something to keep your eye on. We're going to continue to trend drier and drier, as we are going to be seeing those microclimates coming into full force. So with upper 70s to near 80 degrees expected by the midweek across our inland locations, with sunnier skies and offshore winds developing, our coastal communities are still going to be sitting in the low 60s because of those microclimates, because of that marine layer holding tight along the coast. Keep that in mind if you do plan on heading to the beach over the next several days, or head on inland and enjoy the 80s on Tuesday and Wednesday.
If you hop on Muni, be ready to prove that you paid. In recent months, the SFMTA has changed its fare enforcement strategy, and it appears to be working. The agency says transit fare inspectors have just about doubled their passenger inspections year over year, and revenue from fares is up. It's especially important as the agency stares down a budget crisis, having to make tough decisions left and right, including cutting service at times. The chief security officer tells us fares are directly related to the service that Muni can provide.
Fares do make up a portion of our overall revenue. And so in order to provide service, people do need to pay their fair share. It's particularly important right now when most large transit agencies are facing looming deficits.
Part of the strategy, making the transit fare inspectors more visible on the buses. I rode along with a team of them to see how it is working out.
Good afternoon. Checking proof of payment.
This transit fare inspector, or TFI, is just one man that's a part of a bigger mission right now of keeping Muni rolling.
That one is no good.
His job is to make sure people pay their fares, which many riders don't do, a behavior amplified in the post-pandemic world.
I'm going to check your payment history, sir, and if your payment history pretty good, I'm going to try to work with you.
Fares do not drive Muni's funding, but do play an important role in the grand scheme of its funding.
You verbally said you pay, you ride every day, but it shows that you only clip for BART.
And in the midst of an ongoing budget crisis, the agency is trying to optimize its fare enforcement strategy.
Nah, that's not the highlight of my day, to be honest with you. I try to look for an out for him, and unfortunately, he didn't have an out for himself.
A part of that strategy means making TFIs more visible throughout the Muni system.
Hi, please have your passes out for me.
And SFMTA data shows their productivity appears to be working. Passenger inspections have nearly doubled in the last 12 months.
So you can't just jump on and then see us and add fare to your card and pay, okay?
And observed fare evasion has decreased by 30%.
Okay, so right now you are going to be issued a citation.
Audrey Liu is a regular Muni rider and major advocate for funding Muni and doing whatever needs to be done to prevent service cuts. Do you pay your fare when you get on the bus?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, to fund the bus, but I think a big part of it is that, I see my fare helping support the system and hopefully the broader community.
On board the buses many times a week, Lou has noticed the added TFI presence.
Yeah, I do. I think I noticed it especially on the 38 line. It would be nice if we can also focus on other systems as well, like making it easier for people to pay.
Lou thinks this is a part of the puzzle in helping Muni's financial viability. However, it isn't and shouldn't be the primary means of it.
Going after fare evasion is not going to be the solution, just looking at the raw numbers.
A longtime SFMTA employee, however, a TFI supervisor, says optimizing fare enforcement has a positive ripple effect for the entire Muni system.
Now people are paying more, people are riding the system more, there's more enforcement, there's more uniform presence, so a lot of people feel safe on the Muni now.
That's what time we got here?
This TFI says nobody wins when he has to write tickets. Everybody wins when people pay their fair share.
Because I pay my fare. Shoot, I pay fast track. I pay every year. It's the right thing to do.
He hopes people remember that before they have to learn it the hard way the next time they hop on. The SFMTA says they've also redesigned their proof of payment program. They plan to hire more transit fare inspectors that'll be deployed all throughout the system. So as we noted, Muni is rolling out major changes to tackle a $50 million budget deficit. On June 21st, Muni will shorten or merge service on the 5, 6, 9, 21, and 31 bus lines. The agency says the cuts will save $7.5 million. Critics warn, however, they could reduce ridership and hurt future transit funding efforts. Meantime, BART is touting a big drop in crime. The agency says violent crime has dropped 23% this year when compared to the first 3 months of 2024. Riders like John Shoptaw say they're noticing the change.
I feel safe at the BART. I appreciate the new clean facilities and the extra presence of aides and helpers.
BART says fare evasion still remains a problem, and it has struggled to recoup its profits in the post-pandemic era. The hope is that the new fare gates will help out when they're installed all throughout the system, BART has also cut enough from the budget to avoid a deficit for the next fiscal year that begins on July 1st. A Marin County community is coming together to help each other get through a terrible tragedy. It was about a week ago that 4 students from Archie Williams High School were killed in a car crash. 2 others were hurt. One parent says all of these girls were best friends. Now people are rallying together to help families and friends of these victims heal and provide support that goes well beyond donations. As Kenny Choi shows us, it all begins with the owner of a local pizza shop.
When Pat Townsley heard of the tragic crash that took the lives of 4 Archie Williams High School students, he immediately channeled his restaurant's website into an informational hub for his community.
I did this as a knee-jerk reaction just to get these resources out here because I knew I could.
He wanted families of the victims and anyone willing to help to have access to an easy one-stop shop website. Many have donated meals, venues for memorial services, and more through his site.
Here's a new message here. I am gifting trauma therapy. How can I help?
Reading hundreds of heartfelt messages of hope and sadness, reflecting on his own children who went to Archie Williams, and attending the vigil have been part of an emotional week.
I didn't say a word, just kept my head down and just listened and grieved and heard the tears and the stories, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah.
The bar at Creekside Pizza and Tap Room has become his office to continuously update and provide links offering help.
It's really great at clearing unwanted energies.
Leslie Mariucci, a Reiki master, found other volunteers and therapists through Townsley's website.
I would not have known where to go, despite feeling really called to want to help. I wouldn't have known where to show up or who to contact.
Sally Newson helped coordinate volunteers to gather at Camp Arequipa in Fairfax to provide a safe space for students in need of healing.
We have had over 60 volunteers, people from the community reaching out, asking, what can I do to help?
I saw the GoFundMe sites. I can't provide support financially, but I thought, I could provide support in this way.
This young lady's brother attended Archie Williams and was involved in a similar wreck years ago. She didn't want to show her face, but came to this grief support drop-in program.
I just want to come out and help in any way I can with the kids and just be there for them.
For Townsley, the work to inform and connect others continues.
We hope more people are able to come here and use this as a resource as we find out what events will be coming up, how we can further support the families, the students, the school.
It's not a new endeavor for Townsley to bring his neighbors together, but this is a tragedy he could never have imagined. He's doing his part to help.
And if you would like to help out these families, we've posted Creekside's website on our website. Head to our website, kpix.com. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area on this Sunday, one mother's efforts to protect her son, now helping a Bay Area police department better respond to emergencies. How a first-of-its-kind alert system is giving the parents of children with autism more peace of mind.
This is the crux of what we need as first responders.
With Code Joshua, we feel safer, and it's okay, and that the community is going to support him.
Plus, Oakland may have a reputation as a place that's not safe for business, but we'll introduce you to a restaurant owner who's hopeful the new mayor can help turn that around.
Small businesses are really core to that. They are the lifeblood of what makes Oakland unique.
And this isn't your average protest. Meet the man from the North Bay, hoping to make a change, one flower at a time.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
We're looking at a cloudy and cool day ahead of us. If you have any outdoor plans, make sure you bundle up. But honestly, I don't think you'll need an umbrella throughout most of the afternoon, and definitely not this evening, with much drier conditions arriving tomorrow. and that's going to allow a big heat up, getting back into the mid-70s across our inland locations and then upper 70s to nearly 80 degrees by Tuesday and into Wednesday. Enjoy the warmer weather while you can, because as you can see by the later parts of this upcoming week, cooler weather is on the way, and the slight potential for maybe even a little bit of rain late Friday and into early Saturday. Something to keep your eye on later this week, but honestly, after today, it's going to be a beautiful start to the upcoming work week.
Hundreds of shops and restaurants across Oakland have dealt with incidents like smash and grabs over the past few years. Here's just one example. 7-Eleven store ransacked by robbers just 2 days in a row last week. This one right here is at Grand Avenue and Mandana Boulevard. Incidents like this one have caused many business owners to pack up and leave the town. But one restaurant owner told our Suji Nam, recent shakeup at City Hall has her feeling pretty optimistic about the city's future.
Inside the Shooting Star Cafe in Oakland, you're nearly 7,000 miles away from Hong Kong. But once you step inside the restaurant, it's almost like you traveled to China, experiencing the culture through these popular Hong Kong-style dishes.
For me, it's for memory when I grew up in Hong Kong. So the food, the taste.
Karen Fong moved to Oakland in 1990 and opened her restaurant, the Shooting Star Cafe, in Chinatown.
We're making fried rice, chow mein, and then also sandwich.
Bringing the taste of her motherland to neighbors and visitors from all over the Bay Area. However, Fong says since the pandemic, she's lost about 50% of foot traffic, saying public safety is a major factor.
Most of the customers, sometimes they travel to Oakland, stop in Oakland. Sometimes they're going to Reno or South Bay. In the middle, they stop by and then come to eat. But now they are just afraid to passing the freeway to Oakland. Too dangerous.
While Fong is now managing 3 restaurants in Chinatown, she's noticing many of her fellow business owners are leaving.
Frustrating, maybe everybody who works in city.
She's optimistic, however, that with new leadership, including Mayor-elect Barbara Lee and District 2 Council Member-elect Charlene Wong, change is coming.
In my own neighborhood, I see a number of small businesses have left. The Walgreens had left. You actually see these more and more vacant storefronts.
With a nearly $130 million budget shortfall, Wong knows there's a long road ahead, but she says small businesses are the driving force of economic revitalization.
Small businesses are really core to that. They are the lifeblood of what makes Oakland unique.
And that begins by pushing to fill Oakland police vacancies, launching programs to close some homeless encampments, and moving people into shelters, while also connecting them to jobs.
With some pragmatic support and with support from city leadership, we can fill those vacant storefronts and really start rebuilding back our communities.
And Fong hopes these visions will become reality.
Hong Kong milk tea we're making.
So that she can continue doing what she loves.
All my customers like family. 99% is loyalty. They always coming back.
Bringing comfort through food right here in Oakland.
Mayor-elect Barbara Lee says her plans for her first 100 days include addressing public safety, homelessness, and blight, as well as doing a forensic audit to find the root cause of Oakland's financial troubles. The Fremont Police Department is the first agency in the country to adopt an emergency system called Code Joshua. It's an effort to avoid potential escalations when law enforcement encounter people with developmental disabilities. The recent killing of an autistic teen in Idaho has sparked calls for a better understanding of the potential for violence while out on a call. 17-year-old Victor Perez was nonverbal and holding a knife when officers shot him 9 times in his yard earlier this month. His family said he was having a mental health crisis and that he was not a threat. So how is Fremont PD implementing the program? Our Kevin Coe learned how it all got started and spoke with a family eager to register.
Meet Brady, a 13-year-old from Fremont who loves the outdoors. His parents, Beth and Eric Coons, love him more than the world.
Parents are always worried about their kids. Always. Especially parents of kids with autism. It adds an extra level of worry.
Eric and Beth were born deaf, but it's never stopped them from enjoying life as a family. Brady is deaf and autistic.
Since my son was little, I always worried about him. I felt I had to be with him all the time to watch him and protect him. But now that he's getting older, he's 13 now, and he wants to be more independent. He wants to be out in the community more, and I can't protect him forever.
Beth and Eric worry about Brady's interactions with others, including police, in the event of a traumatic episode.
We worry about how other people who don't know about our son, how best to approach him, how best to talk with Brady, and how best to de-escalate the situation.
The couple found out they weren't alone in their fears. After some research, they came across Code Joshua, a partnership between Fremont-based nonprofit Joshua's Gift and Fremont Police. Mispa Brown-Rich is Joshua's mom and the co-founder of Joshua's Gift. Her son struggles with sensory overload, which can be triggered by loud noises in public.
It may trigger a meltdown, it may trigger aggressive behavior, and that could be misinterpreted. One of the biggest fears is if law enforcement gets involved and they're not trained on recognizing the behaviors or the characteristics of a person on the autism spectrum, that could probably lead to a more unfavorable or more deadly outcome.
Families can register with Code Joshua to submit detailed information about their loved ones. If they encounter law enforcement, the information is passed along to officers, who then know what to look out for.
This is the crux of what we need as first responders. What are an individual's triggers or sensitivities? And then some of the expected behaviors too. Should we expect that an individual will be kicking or hitting us or biting? And understanding that that's kind of normalized behavior.
Emergency contact information is also available, so loved ones can be reached immediately. For Beth and Eric, that provides comfort they didn't know was possible.
With Code Joshua, we feel safer, and it's okay that the community is going to support him.
Fremont Police officially initiated Code Joshua in April. So far, about 200 families have signed up.
The database is voluntary, so only families who register will actually be in this system. It also is available in 17 different languages. Still ahead, and East Bay City's cash-strapped public schools are in need of some major tech support. We'll introduce you to some students who are stepping up to help.
It's satisfying knowing that I have the skills and capabilities to just do this.
A large storm system continues to impact us basically all across California, and a little bit of rain falling in the early morning hours today, but we're actually looking at the bulk of the activity swirling away from us here in California, and we'll be looking at the tail end of that wraparound moisture, just bringing us a little bit of rain, but really drier conditions on the way later today, and then into tomorrow, significantly quieter and a lot warmer out there. So get ready for a big heat up on the way. This afternoon, though, don't expect a heat up. It's still going to be cool out there, especially across our South Bay communities, as high temperatures, San Jose up to Fremont, Livermore, only going to be in the upper 50s. North of that will be slightly warmer. Oakland, you might get to 60, along with places like Concord and Vallejo, but either way, it's definitely below average for this time of year. So any outdoor plans today, you're going to want to grab a warmer jacket, but honestly, I don't think you should have to grab that umbrella. We are expecting most of the activity throughout this afternoon to really only be impacting the farthest inland of our communities. I'll let you know just how long these slightly rainier conditions will stick around, because it's not going to be much longer than the earlier parts of today. Everything coming up in my full forecast.
In a district facing major budget problems, some tech-savvy students are using their skills to be a part of the solution. A West Oakland high school found a unique way to fix thousands of school-issued laptops that were all on the fritz. Our Itai Hodge shows us how they are bringing them back to life, saving the district big bucks.
At McClymonds High in West Oakland, most students work on their laptops. David Anderson's work is his laptop.
See how it's kind of blurry and stuff? That means it's either the bezel or the camera's broken.
David is part of a program called the Tech Repair Hub. Sounds official until you realize it's run by teenagers armed with tiny screwdrivers and a mountain of busted Chromebooks. No Genius Bar, no waiting room, just sticky notes that read broken display and missing hinge thing. and students who somehow know exactly where to begin. Take Gavin Armstrong. A year ago, he was just using a school laptop. Now, he's the reason why everyone else's still works.
It's satisfying knowing that I have the skills and capabilities to just do this.
It all started in 2021 when the pandemic pushed classes online and school laptops to their breaking point.
Slide it in.
With no budget for repairs, the district did something unorthodox. They handed the tools to the students. It was a long shot, but it clicked. And it's not just extra credit. Students here earn $18 an hour. Samantha Nunez, who oversees the program, says in the last school year alone, these students have fixed close to 1,000 computers, saving the district more than $200,000.
Were there any worries that kids might not be able to do it?
Yeah, there was definitely worries and concerns, like, do they have the capacity to fix it, right? And turns out they do.
There's so much technology waste.
Colleen Piper, the school's college and career counselor, says other districts are now calling from across the country. But the biggest impact, she says, can't be measured in numbers.
Learning, honestly, just the responsibility of holding down a job, communication skills.
As for David, he's now eyeing a career in computer science.
Is it fun to take something apart and figure it out?
Yeah, it gets your mind thinking different possibilities and ways you can figure out how to fix something.
And while the job was to repair computers, along the way, they found something else worth rebooting, their own potential.
During summer break, the Tech Repair Hub employs 15 interns who'll work 30 hours a week. Still ahead in our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area. Families living in San Francisco shelters forced to leave during their time of need. Meet a group of mothers pushing to change the city's eviction policy.
It's a very inefficient program. It's a very inefficient policy. They have redefined who is actually homeless in our family shelter system.
Plus, we'll meet the man who is literally planting a movement here in the Bay Area. How he hopes to sprout the seeds of hope, one sunflower at a time.
I think everybody needs something to wave, something to get behind, something they can relate to.
I'm Max Darrow, and this is The Minute. Oakland teachers could strike on May 1st due to a budget dispute with the district over potential layoffs and cuts. The district points towards the $70 million deficit as the driving factor, but the union argues the district is using the budget crisis as an excuse. In Contra Costa County, families of crime victims are pushing to recall District Attorney Diana Becton. They say she's not tough enough on crime, and they blame her progressive policies. Her supporters, however, point to data showing that crime is down with her as the district attorney. The Trump administration is investigating UC Berkeley for failing to report millions of dollars in foreign funding, mostly from China's Tsinghua University. Could jeopardize federal funding and international research partnerships at the university. I'm Max Darrow with The Minute.
Happy Sunday. Not necessarily as much of a Sunday fun day if you plan on spending any time outdoors, because we're definitely looking at a cooler and cloudier afternoon ahead of us. Our high temperatures are only going to be in the upper 50s to maybe low 60s across the Bay Area. So bundle up and keep the jacket handy today. You're definitely going to need it. But the cloud coverage, it's not going to stick around much longer than the afternoon hours. And in fact, although a bit of clouds and fog will stick around in the early morning hours tomorrow, quickly clearing by tomorrow afternoon. We're going to be seeing plenty of sunshine, and that's going to allow our high temperatures to warm back up to seasonable for this time of year. We'll be back in the low 70s across our inlandmost locations, mid to upper 60s down into the Santa Clara Valley. We'll still be sitting in the upper 50s closer to our coastal communities, as that marine layer is going to be holding on tight closer to the coast, while the inland areas are going to be seeing quite a lot more sunshine. But everybody will be warming up after today as that storm system departs. And again, the clouds begin to clear. Like I said, maybe a little bit of fog waking up early tomorrow morning, but so much sunshine tomorrow afternoon. The rain that we saw today, yesterday, Friday, was very necessary across most of the Bay Area. Basically, all of us have been well below average throughout the entire month of April. San Francisco, about an inch below average. And for the entire rainy season as a whole, it started October 1st. We're about 2 inches below average. It's because April, it's been a very, very dry month. March was also a very dry month. Although February was really awesome when it came to our rainfall, it did not outweigh the dry air that we saw in January as well, and to kick off the rainy season. So there's been 3 months that have been above average and 4 months that have been below average since the rainy season began. Means the below average conditions are winning out. But there is some good news. If you enjoy the rain like I do, and like we do need this time of year, there is a slight potential for a little bit more activity late Friday and into early Saturday. As again, this is the time of year that our rainfall totals really begin to drop off. From March, you see over 3 inches of rain on average, to April, about 1.5 inches. By May, we are less than 1 inch of regular monthly rainfall. That is something to keep your eye on. We're going to continue to trend drier and drier as we are going to be seeing those microclimates coming into full force. So with upper 70s to near 80 degrees expected by the midweek across our inland locations, with sunnier skies and offshore winds developing, our coastal communities are still going to be sitting in the low 60s because of those microclimates, because of that marine layer holding tight along the coast. Keep that in mind if you do plan on heading to the beach over the next several days, or head on inland and enjoy the 80s on Tuesday and Wednesday.
It is a policy that has come under scrutiny in San Francisco. Homeless families facing eviction from city shelters after 90 days. Well, that policy is designed to get families out of temporary shelters and into more permanent housing solutions. But critics say it will put more families out on the streets. Now, a group of mothers pushing for change. As our Veronica Macias shows us, they appear to be getting a little bit of support.
In San Francisco's Mission District, there's a growing grassroots effort to change the city's shelter eviction policy. It's a campaign to keep all children off the streets of San Francisco. Children who could become homeless are delivering a message to lawmakers. Their mothers spent weeks planning and strategizing, attempting to convince city supervisors to help them.
That is the idea, and our only purpose, to get all of the children off from the streets of San Francisco. No child should be homeless.
Vanessa is a group organizer who became involved with the Faith in Action Network after having to live in her car for weeks. She's a victim of domestic violence and had nowhere to turn to. Through these weekly meetings, these women have helped one another survive.
It is very difficult to take your children and sleep on the street. I have had to do it. We had to sleep in the car for 2 weeks practically, and that has to touch your heart.
Nonprofit Faith in Action is helping the women organize and petition city supervisors to stop evictions for families with children from city shelters. Just last week, they won an extension for one family. The current policy allows families to stay in shelters for 90 days with 2 30-day extensions.
That they give us a decent place to live with our children. We're not asking for free. We are asking for help with a subsidy because we know that there are subsidies. We just want them to be given to the people who are here and who need them.
City officials say the shelters cannot provide a permanent source of housing.
There's more than 300 families who do not have shelter, who are on the shelter waiting list. And so if shelter becomes the long-term housing for people, we've lost our shelter as a resource. One of the things that I think is worth considering is that after this policy first went into effect, the rate of getting folks out, families out of shelter and into permanent supportive housing significantly increased.
We are one of the richest cities in the world.
District 9 Supervisor Jackie Fielder has showed she's on board. Just this week, she introduced an ordinance to amend the city's code, preventing city-funded shelters from kicking families with children out within a year, unless they're being offered housing.
It's a very inefficient program. It's a very inefficient policy. It's my view that it should be rescinded, and the mayor can do that and has not. They have redefined who is actually homeless in our family shelter system so that they can artificially lower the numbers from about 500 to 300.
Until they can find permanent housing, they will continue to push for change.
When you have children, it becomes your fuel. And I know that all mothers who see this will understand me. If you have to tear your heart out for your children, you will. And that is what moves us all. We want to give our children a decent place to live so that they can go to bed at night warm and comfortable in their beds under a safe roof and not have to be every 3 months.
Making matters worse, the San Francisco Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing says of all city-owned units, only 83 are available. Nearly 300 have a move-in in progress, and more than 350 are offline, most in need of maintenance.
The number of families in need continues to grow. These mothers tell Veronica they will continue to ask questions surrounding the vacancies in city-owned properties. The Trump administration backing down on terminating student visas, for now at least. The Department of Justice is restoring registrations for more than 1,000 international students. This comes in the face of multiple lawsuits. Here in California, 121 students have been impacted, some of them at Bay Area campuses. In a divided and politically charged climate, many people are looking for ways to have their voices heard. Here in the Bay Area, we see protests of all types. But our Cara St. Cyr spoke with one Santa Rosa man who is hoping his movement quite literally grows.
We'll take and fill up all these cells.
Every great movement has its symbol.
Back in the anti-Vietnam War days, we had the peace sign, for example, but there was never one unifying thing for all the resistance groups.
Jim Wilder hopes the sunflower might be just that. Wilder, a veteran, says he wants to unify communities that feel marginalized under the Trump administration.
I think Trump is being so very undemocratic.
He's called the movement Sunflowers Across America.
I think everybody needs, something to wave, something to get behind, something they can relate to.
Wilder's collected thousands of sunflower seeds and is planting them so that one day they may line the streets in form of a peaceful protest. He's already planted nearly 3,000.
So these are the double Sun King.
The goal is to plant 10,000 in the Bay Area by the end of this year and eventually spread the movement nationwide. But for now, he's starting with local activists like Christina Wild, a volunteer with Wake Up Sonoma County.
Thank you very much. A pleasure.
She's one of the first to receive her seeds. Seeing the sprouts gives her hope.
A sunflower is a tall, strong, hardy flower. It looks to the sun, it looks to the light, and I think that makes it a good symbol in and of itself.
While he gets ready to plant more sunflowers, Wilder is expanding his movement to include buttons and even shirts.
I've been mounting these just on some green stakes so that you can imagine 100 people waving these at a demonstration or something.
The sunflowers won't bloom until May, but Wilder is happy to plant what he calls the seeds of resistance.
It's been 50 years since the last commercial flight left Vietnam and landed in the Bay Area just before the fall of Saigon, 6 days later. Coming up next, we'll introduce you to some of the Pan Am flight attendants from San Francisco who were aboard that fateful flight.
In the middle of the night, Pan Ops called me and asked me if I would volunteer to go in to Saigon on a rescue mission. And I said yes.
Why they volunteered and how many people they were able to fly to safety. Plus, cheetahs facing the threat of extinction. We'll tell you how one of the world's leading experts returned to her Bay Area roots to raise awareness about their fight for survival.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
We're looking at a cloudy and cool day ahead of us. If you have any outdoor plans, make sure you bundle up. But honestly, I don't think you'll need an umbrella throughout most of the afternoon, and definitely not this evening, with much drier conditions arriving tomorrow. and that's going to allow a big heat up, getting back into the mid-70s across our inland locations, and then upper 70s to nearly 80 degrees by Tuesday and into Wednesday. Enjoy the warmer weather while you can, because as you can see by the later parts of this upcoming week, cooler weather is on the way, and the slight potential for maybe even a little bit of rain late Friday and into early Saturday. Something to keep your eye on later this week, but honestly, after today, it's going to be a beautiful start to the upcoming work week.
50 years ago, just 6 days before the end of the Vietnam War, a daring and dramatic rescue flew into Saigon. On board the empty Pan Am 747, some flight attendants who were based out of San Francisco who stepped forward to save hundreds of Vietnamese civilians. Elizabeth Cook has their story.
North of San Francisco, overlooking Tamales Bay, these women gathered to remember.
And we shared an adventure together that we'll never forget.
Their names, Sue, Pamela, Laura Lee, and Cha.
It was April of 1975. They were all stewardesses for Pan Am Airways, and they all volunteered for an extremely dangerous mission.
There wasn't any question we were going to go in and do what we could that could help.
Thousands of people were roaming Da Nang airfield.
6 days before the fall of Saigon, the situation was chaotic. The FAA banned all commercial flights in and out of Vietnam. But Pan Am got special permission for one final journey.
In the middle of the night, Pan Ops called me and asked me if I would volunteer to go in to Saigon on a rescue mission. And I said yes.
The goal? To evacuate Pan Am's Vietnamese employees and families.
They were working for an American company. I believe their lives would have all been in danger if they'd stayed.
The crew was willing to cram even more on board, including Cha's 4 teenage sisters.
My sisters, of course, is so scared.
On the flight, extra uniforms and wigs. The plan? To dress each sister as a Pan Am stewardess. Then, one by one, the disguised teens drove out to the plane, passing soldiers armed with machine guns.
Without my help, I don't think they had the way of getting out of the country.
They boarded nearly 100 more passengers than the plane could seat.
It was packed, every inch.
When the jumbo jet took off,
there was gunfire that we could hear. We knew that the airport was surrounded. We knew that.
What I recall was the deafening silence.
People were crying. We were crying. We were sad that they had to leave that way.
All credit their pilot, the late Captain Bob Berg, as being the real hero.
He told us when we got on the ground that he would not leave anyone behind, that he would turn the red flashing light on, and that meant get back to the airplane as quickly as possible.
Such a treasure, and such a man filled with humility and bravery and courage.
Qualities shared by these women today and 50 years ago on a flight to freedom.
The Pan Am Historical Museum in New York just held an event bringing together adoptees evacuated from Saigon with all of those who made life-saving missions possible. Coming up, we'll introduce you to a Bay Area native who became one of the world's leading experts on cheetahs.
They know that they're the fastest land animal. They have no idea the numbers are so low, that they are racing for their very survival.
How she's made it her mission to save them from extinction.
Never give up, baby.
A large storm system continues to impact us basically all across California, and a little bit of rain falling in the early morning hours today, but we're actually looking at the bulk of the activity swirling away from us here in California, and we'll be looking at the tail end of that wraparound moisture, just bringing us a little bit of rain, but really drier conditions on the way later today, and then into tomorrow, significantly quieter and a lot warmer out there. So get ready for a big heat up on the way. This afternoon, though, don't expect a heat up. It's still going to be cool out there, especially across our South Bay communities, as high temperatures, San Jose up to Fremont, Livermore, only going to be in the upper 50s 50s. North of that will be slightly warmer. Oakland, you might get to 60, along with places like Concord and Vallejo, but either way, it's definitely below average for this time of year. So any outdoor plans today, you're going to want to grab a warmer jacket, but honestly, I don't think you should have to grab that umbrella. We are expecting most of the activity throughout this afternoon to really only be impacting the farthest inland of our communities. I'll let you know just how long these slightly rainier conditions will stick around, because it's not going to be much longer than the earlier parts of today. Everything coming up in my full forecast.
One of the world's foremost experts on cheetahs returned to her roots to raise awareness of the animal's fight for survival. Dr. Lori Marker bases her conservation work out of Namibia, a country in Southwest Africa. But the Bay Area native recently traveled more than 9,000 miles across the world to visit her hometown of San Jose as a part of a nationwide speaking tour. Arlen Ramirez caught up with Dr. Marker as she shared her message with students at her alma mater.
Well, it looks about the same, but it feels different.
It's a long way from the plains of Namibia to the campus of Leland High School in San Jose. But Dr. Lori Marker, one of the world's top cheetah experts and conservationist, made a homecoming to her alma mater as part of her stated mission in life.
My mission is to save the cheetah and change the world.
Marker graduated from Leland in 1972 and went on to San Francisco State University. She first worked in the wine industry, but found her calling during a side job at a wildlife park in Oregon. And it was there where she became fascinated with the fast and the fragile cheetah.
Well, people don't know. They know that they're the fastest land animal. They have no idea the numbers are so low, that they are racing for their very survival. And that's, I think, the biggest awareness that I'm trying to bring to, the world, the Western world, the world where they live, these arid landscapes in Africa. We have a number of cheetahs in our sanctuary right now.
Marker was a special guest for a talk about cheetahs and her own unique life journey that took her from San Jose to Namibia, where she established the Cheetah Conservation Fund and Research Center in 1990. She told a packed AP biology classroom how cheetah numbers have dwindled to just 7,000 and how they are losing habitat and facing extinction.
So that's more people in this school than live in any of the cheetah range countries. We have the largest population in Namibia, which is called the cheetah capital of the world. We maybe have 1,000.
Marker is trying to stop the illegal pet cheetah trade and has introduced formerly captive cheetahs into the wild. And her center now breeds special guard dogs from Turkey to give to local farmers to protect their sheep and goats from predators so cheetahs won't be blamed and shot. Another reason for their decline. The students didn't want to leave.
It was a really special opportunity to be able to meet her and see such outstanding work and learn about such fascinating information about cheetahs, which most of us probably never knew.
The subject matter was cheetahs, but the underlying message was a strong one for students facing important life choices in upcoming years.
I hope that they take awareness. I hope that they can take away that there is somebody who graduated from their school and is doing something big. I think big for the world, and yet I'm just normal and grew up here, was walking in the same places they're walking.
She says she never expected to become the voice for cheetahs worldwide, but knew that she could solve problems, and that problem solving keeps her active and happy and could help her stop the world's fastest land animal from running out of time.
Dr. Lori Marker is currently on a nationwide speaking tour to raise awareness of the cheetah's fight for survival. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Max Darrow. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and today's top stories.